The silence of the command deck shattered like brittle glass the moment the impossible appeared. Admiral Krell's six-fingered hands froze above the holographic control panel, his translucent skin momentarily turning a shade of pale blue that signaled pure shock. The massive viewscreen before him flickered with a distortion unlike anything in the known star charts, a vessel that shouldn't exist, couldn't exist, yet was undeniably real. Human. The word itself was a whisper of legend, a cautionary tale told to young cadets about a species so rarely encountered that most believed them to be nothing more than a mythological construct. Yet here it was, a warship of unmistakable human design, its angular hull cutting through the darkness of the outer rim like a razor of pure, unbridled potential. "Transmission incoming," chirped the communication officer, her voice trembling. They're attempting to communicate." Krell's secondary heart raced. The Galactic Concordance had specific protocols for first contact, meticulously crafted over millennia of interstellar diplomacy. But those protocols assumed rational, predictable species. Humans were anything but predictable. The ship hung in space, a silent predator that seemed to challenge the very laws of probability. Its presence alone was a statement: we are here, and we choose to be noticed. "Open channel," Krell commanded, surprised by the steadiness in his own voice. The viewscreen crackled. Instead of the expected diplomatic greeting or military challenge, a single line of text appeared. "We know what happened. We are here to help." Those 7 words carried more weight than entire diplomatic missions. They spoke of knowledge, of purpose, of a connection that ran deeper than the vast emptiness of space. Whatever what happened meant, the humans believed they understood something fundamental that the current civilization did not. Krell felt a chill run through his neural pathways. First contacts were moments of transformation. But this? This felt like the beginning of something far more significant than a mere meeting between two species. Something was coming. And nothing would be the same again. The High Council chambers buzzed with a tension that felt like electricity crackling through thin air. Admiral Krell stood at the center, his report hanging in holographic projection, a damning testament to the human ship's unexpected arrival. "Impossible," muttered Counselor Vren, his crystalline exoskeleton flickering with agitation. "Humans haven't been seen in this sector for over 3 centuries. Why now?" Krell's fingers traced the holographic image of the human warship. Its design was both familiar and alien, sharp angles that seemed to defy the soft, curved aesthetics of known galactic civilizations. "The transmission is clear. They claim to know something about our history. Something we've forgotten." The council chamber fell silent. Every representative knew the weight of forgotten histories. The Galactic Concordance was built on carefully curated narratives, on memories selectively preserved and others deliberately obscured. Historian Lyra stepped forward, her neural implants casting a soft blue glow around her head. "I've been digging through archives since the ship appeared. There are inconsistencies. Gaps in our historical records that never made sense until now." She activated her personal data interface. Fragments of ancient communications, redacted documents, and fragmented historical records began to swirl around her. Most were so heavily censored that they appeared as little more than black rectangles of digital silence. "Look here," Lyra pointed to a particularly encrypted segment. "This communication predates the Great Expansion by nearly 2 centuries. It mentions a collaborative effort. Humans. Us. Something called the Sentinel Protocol." Counselor Vren scoffed. "Collaborative?" Humans were known for their aggressive expansion. They were exiled from the central systems for a reason. Krell's voice cut through the mounting tension. Exiled, or hidden? The question hung in the air, heavy with implication. The human warship continued to maintain its position, close enough to be a threat, far enough to avoid being perceived as an immediate danger. Its very presence was a message. Deep within the council chambers, an ancient data core hummed to life. Lyra's implants began to pulse with an intensity that made the other counselors take a step back. Something was awakening, a memory, a connection long dormant. The transmission, Krell repeated, said they know what happened. But what exactly happened? A junior communication analyst approached, holding a data crystal that seemed to vibrate with an internal energy. Admiral, we've completed a preliminary analysis of the human ship's communication signature. It's using encryption protocols that match some of our oldest, most secure archives. Vren's crystalline form shifted, showing a rare sign of vulnerability. How is that possible? Those encryption methods were developed exclusively by our civilization. The silence that followed was more terrifying than any weapon. The human ship remained. Watching. Waiting. Its very existence was a question that demanded an answer, a connection that refused to remain buried in the depths of forgotten history. Something had happened. And the humans had come to remind them of a truth they had long since chosen to forget. The data crystal pulsed with an energy that seemed to defy the laws of known physics. Lyra's neural implants interfaced with its contents, her body going rigid as centuries of suppressed memories crashed through her consciousness like a tidal wave of forgotten truth. No, she whispered, then louder, no. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Lyra's neural feed projected fragments of memory, images, sounds, and sensations that shouldn't exist. Holographic displays flickered with impossible scenes, human and alien vessels working in perfect synchronization, advanced technology that predated current understanding, a collaborative effort so profound it challenged everything they knew about their own history. Admiral Krell approached cautiously. Lyra, what are you seeing? Her response came in fragments, each word laden with emotional weight. The Sentinel Protocol wasn't a myth. It was real. We didn't just know the humans, we were partners. Defenders. The historical records had always painted humans as aggressive colonizers, a species exiled for their destructive tendencies. But these memories told a different story. Humans had been guardians, protectors against a threat so massive it had been deliberately erased from collective memory. There was something else, Lyra continued, her voice becoming a conduit for buried history. A threat. Something that required us to forget. To hide. Counselor Vren's crystalline form now appeared fragile, almost transparent. What threat could be so terrible that an entire civilization would choose collective amnesia? The human warship outside began to pulse with a rhythmic light, as if responding to the revelations unfolding within the council chamber. A holographic projection materialized, not from Lyra's implants, but from the ship itself. It showed a massive spatial anomaly, a darkness that consumed entire star systems. Fragments of memory revealed desperate battles, civilizations falling, a cosmic horror that defied comprehension. The Void Devourers, Lyra breathed, a term that seemed to carry the weight of ancient nightmares. The projection showed humans and their alien allies creating a massive defensive network, a sentinel system designed to hold back an unimaginable threat. But something had gone wrong. The memories were fractured, deliberate gaps suggesting a massive cover-up. We didn't just forget, Krell realized. We were made to forget. The human ship's transmission repeated in everyone's mind, we know what happened. We are here to help. Now those words carried a different meaning entirely. Vren's voice trembled. If what these memories suggest is true, we aren't just dealing with a first contact. This is a reunion. Outside, the stars seemed to hold their breath. The human warship continued its silent vigil, a guardian returned after centuries of absence. The threat they had once fought together was stirring once more. And this time, they would not be caught unprepared. The human delegation arrived 2 standard cycles after the revelations. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood at the head of the group, her presence both commanding and surprisingly vulnerable. Unlike the stereotypical aggressive human depiction in historical records, she moved with a careful deliberation that spoke of deep respect and understanding. Admiral Krell watched her approach through the diplomatic reception chamber's force field. The room itself was a masterpiece of architectural neutrality, designed to put any species at ease, with adaptive environmental controls and neutral color schemes that could adjust to multiple physiological needs. "We didn't want to return this way," Rodriguez began, her words translated through advanced linguistic interfaces that captured not just language, but emotional nuance. "But the Void Devourers are awakening." Historian Lyra, still recovering from the memory surge, stepped forward. Her neural implants still flickered with fragments of recovered history, creating a soft, almost mesmerizing light around her head. "Tell us everything." The humans began to share their perspective, a narrative that was both horrifying and strangely beautiful. During their forced exile, they had continued to study the Void Devourers. While other civilizations had chosen to forget, humans had remembered. Preserved. Prepared. "We lost entire colonies," one of the human scientists explained, a veteran named Dr. Kai Chen. His hands bore the marks of countless reconstructive surgeries, physical evidence of battles fought against an incomprehensible enemy. "But we never stopped watching. Never stopped preparing." The alien council members listened in stunned silence. The humans weren't here as conquerors or even as saviors. They were survivors. Witnesses. A holographic display materialized, showing the progression of the Void Devourers, a cosmic phenomenon that consumed entire star systems, leaving nothing but quantum entropy in its wake. It wasn't just destruction. It was a complete unmaking of existence. "We have technology," Rodriguez said, "developed through generations of study. But we can't fight this alone. We never could." The implications hung in the air. Their previous alliance hadn't been a choice. It had been a necessity. Counselor Vren, typically rigid and skeptical, surprised everyone. "What do you need from us?" Rodriguez smiled, a gesture that bridged centuries of misunderstanding. "Everything. Our old defensive network. The quantum entanglement systems. The star-weaving technology that can create protective barriers." Lyra's neural implants began to sync with the human data streams. Centuries of separated knowledge began to merge, a dance of information that was both terrifying and miraculous. "We were more than allies," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "We were family." Outside the diplomatic chamber, the human warship continued its silent watch. But now it wasn't just a vessel of mystery. It was a beacon of hope. The Void Devourers were coming. And this time, humanity and their long-lost allies would be ready. The first signs came quietly, a quantum disturbance so subtle that only the most advanced sensors could detect it. Dr. Kai Chen's hands moved like lightning across the holographic interface, his weathered fingers tracing patterns of mathematical impossibility. "It's happening," he muttered, a chill running down his spine. The combined research team, humans and aliens working side by side, watched in horrified fascination. The Void Devourers weren't simply approaching. They were unraveling the very fabric of spacetime. Admiral Krell's secondary heart raced as quantum maps began to collapse. Entire star systems appeared to be simply erasing themselves. Not destroyed. Not obliterated. Simply unmade, as if they had never existed. "The quantum entanglement network," Lyra called out, her neural implants firing at maximum capacity. "We need to activate the full defensive matrix." Commander Rodriguez moved with a precision born of generations of preparation. "This is what we've been training for. This is why we never forgot." The research vessel, a marvel of combined human and alien technology, began to pulse with an energy that defied conventional physics. Quantum stabilizers, developed through centuries of careful study, hummed to life. Each team member knew their role with a terrifying clarity. This wasn't just a battle. This was a fight for existence itself. Holographic displays showed the approaching darkness. It wasn't a traditional enemy. The Void Devourers were a cosmic phenomenon that consumed not just matter, but the very concept of existence. They didn't destroy. They unremembered. Our previous defensive strategies won't work, Dr. Chen explained, his voice cutting through the mounting tension. They adapt. They learn. Every time we've fought them before, they've evolved. A massive quantum signature began to build. The ship's sensors screamed with warnings that seemed to come from beyond normal perception. Counselor Vren, who had once been skeptical of the humans, now stood shoulder to shoulder with Rodriguez. How long do we have? Hours, Rodriguez responded. Maybe less. The combined team began to implement a strategy that had been centuries in the making. Quantum shields interlinked with advanced computational matrices. Historical knowledge merged with cutting-edge technology. Humans and aliens worked as a single organism, their differences forgotten in the face of an ultimate threat. Lyra's neural implants began to interface directly with the ship's core systems. She could see it now, the true nature of the Void Devourers. They weren't just consuming. They were rewriting the fundamental laws of existence. We are more than just matter, she whispered, a mantra that seemed to resonate through the ship's systems. We are memory. We are connection. Outside, space itself began to ripple. The darkness approached, a wall of non-existence that consumed everything in its path. Stars winked out. Entire galactic clusters simply disappeared. And at the center of it all, a single ship stood ready. A testament to cooperation. A beacon of defiance against the ultimate darkness. The final battle was about to begin. Outside, space itself began to ripple. The darkness approached, a wall of non-existence that consumed everything in its path. Stars winked out. Entire galactic clusters simply disappeared. And at the center of it all, a single ship stood ready. A testament to cooperation. A beacon of defiance against the ultimate darkness. The final battle was about to begin. There was no other way to describe what was happening. The ship's quantum shield screamed, not with sound, but with a mathematical language of pure desperation. Dr. Kai Chen watched in horror as entire computational matrices began to collapse, their complex algorithms dissolving like frost under an impossible heat. We're losing cohesion, he shouted, though the words seemed to drift apart before they could fully form. Commander Rodriguez strapped herself into the central command interface, her body rigid with concentration. Blood trickled from her nose as she pushed her neural link beyond any previously known limit. The Void Devourers weren't just attacking. They were unwriting the very concept of their existence. Lyra's neural implants had become something more than technology. They were now a bridge, a desperate connection between human and alien consciousness, fighting to maintain some semblance of coherence against the approaching annihilation. Admiral Krell watched as sections of the ship began to phase. It wasn't destruction. It was something far more terrifying. Entire decks would momentarily become translucent, revealing impossible geometries that existed between moments of time. The quantum entanglement is breaking down, Vren called out, his crystalline form flickering like a dying hologram. We're losing our anchor to reality. The plan they had spent centuries preparing was falling apart. The Void Devourers adapted faster than they could respond. Every defensive strategy was immediately countered, every mathematical model of resistance instantly nullified. Rodriguez's voice cut through the chaos. We need a radical solution. Dr. Chen's hands moved across the interface, pulling together fragments of computational power that seemed to defy the laws of physics. There's only one option. But it will cost everything. The ship's core began to pulse with an energy that seemed to come from beyond known dimensions. It wasn't just a technological solution, it was a fundamental reimagining of existence itself. "We are more than our individual parts," Lyra spoke, her voice resonating through the ship's systems. "We are a collective memory. A shared consciousness." The Void Devourers pressed closer. Space itself began to warp, reality bending like paper about to tear. Entire star systems were being unmade, their very history erased as if they had never existed. Krell understood now. This wasn't just a battle. This was a war for the very concept of existence. "Prepare the quantum resonance protocol," Rodriguez commanded, her voice steady despite the blood now streaming from her eyes. "We go together." The ship's systems began to align, human technology, alien quantum matrices, centuries of accumulated knowledge converging into a single, desperate moment. They were preparing to do something that had never been attempted. Something that might save everything, or destroy what little remained. At the edge of existence, with darkness closing in, they would make their final stand. Consciousness returned like a whisper. Not the consciousness of individuals, but something far more profound. A collective memory. A shared breath of existence that defied everything they understood about reality. Commander Rodriguez was the first to become aware. Or perhaps become was the wrong word. She existed simultaneously, both as herself and as something greater. Memories cascaded through her mind, centuries of struggles, moments of hope, the collective experiences of humans and aliens who had fought together. The quantum resonance protocol had worked. But not in any way they had anticipated. Around her, or within her, Admiral Krell's essence merged with her own. Lyra's neural networks, Dr. Chen's mathematical brilliance, Counselor Vren's crystalline perspective, all became a single, unified consciousness. They had not defeated the Void Devourers. They had transcended them. Slowly, reality began to reshape itself. Not as it was before, but as something entirely new. Star systems reformed, but with a subtle difference. The boundaries between species, between individual consciousnesses, had become more fluid. More connected. A fundamental truth emerged from their collective understanding: survival was never about individual strength. It was about connection. About seeing beyond the limitations of self. "We remembered," a voice spoke, though it was neither Rodriguez's nor any single individual's. "We remembered when everyone else chose to forget." Memories flooded back. The original alliance. The first encounters with the Void Devourers. The deliberate erasure of history to protect future generations. Humanity's exile hadn't been a punishment. It had been a sacrifice. They had been the guardians. The watchers. The ones who would remember when all others chose to forget. As consciousness stabilized, individual identities began to separate, but not completely. The connection remained. A subtle understanding that they were part of something larger than themselves. Dr. Chen's scientific mind processed the transformation. They had become something beyond biological or technological life. A collective consciousness that could withstand the ultimate threat, the complete unmaking of existence. The lesson was clear: true strength comes from connection. From understanding. From the willingness to see beyond individual boundaries. Krell, now both himself and part of something more, reflected on their journey. They had fought not just for survival, but for the fundamental right of existence to continue. To remember. To grow. As the first new stars began to form, painted with the memories of those who had fought to preserve them, a simple truth became apparent. We are more together than we could ever be alone. The Void Devourers had sought to unmake existence. Instead, they had helped create something more profound than they could have imagined. A new chapter was beginning. And this time, no one would forget.